Hey all, it's me, Seo. So now that you've done your chromatography run and you have separated your different pigments, you're going to find the RF value, which is a measure of distance, and it's proportioned to the full distance that your solvent ran up the chromatography paper. So here's an example of a piece of chromatography paper. This is where that solvent has run all the way to the top. So that's going to be your measure of solvent distance. And this would be like a band of one of the pigments. You're going to measure from the beginning to that distance. So for the solvent, you're going to have a bigger number. That's going to be the highest level that you measure. And then for the pigments, you'll have some measure below that. In this example, I put 40, let's say it's millimeters for the solvent running to the top of the paper. And then for this example pigment, we'll say that went up 20 millimeters. So to get your RF value, you're going to divide the distance that the pigment moved by the distance that the solvent moved. So in this case, the distance that the pigment moved is 20. So it's 20 millimeters. The distance that the solvent moved is 40 millimeters. So your RF value in this case would be 1/2 or 0.5. So we're going to do that for all of the pigments. And on our chromatography paper, we found 5 measurable pigments. One of those is going to represent the top line. It's basically the line of the solvent. So that's actually going to be a 1-to-1. So the distance that beta carotene ran is, say, 100 millimeters. And that's over 100 because it's the solvent line. So that RF value will be 1. The next down is xanthophyll, the first xanthophyll line that we found. That line is about 57 millimeters. So it's going to be 57 millimeters over 100 millimeters. It's going to be an RF value of 0.57. It's really convenient that this solute ran up to 100 millimeters. The second xanthophyll line that we see is up at 35 millimeters over 100, which remember is the total distance the solute ran. And that gives us a value of 0.35. The third pigment down that we're measuring is chlorophyll A. The chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B ran very close to each other. You can see those are those lower pigments. Remember, this is the line we made with the original juice from the spinach leaves. And these are your 2 pigments that have separated there. So the top one is chlorophyll A. That one ran about 20 millimeters over 100. Give this an RF value of 0.20. And then our last value is 10. It's 10 millimeters over 100 millimeters. That gives you 0.1. So that's how we get our RF values for all of these pigments. And remember, that is a metric of distance.